These are strong IRs from strong artists, especially the Kamiya Drowsy. I've said it a million times, it's my favorite IR from this entire era is the Kamiya Drowsy. It's just very, very unique. It's so cool.
What's going on, Brews?
Ladies and gentlemen, rather than talk about what I really want to talk about, which is me finding it hilarious how many PokeTubers are talking about cards like Drowsy now that they're actually valuable, rather than telling you should invest in them, you know, when they were $5 for 2 straight years. Instead of talk about stuff like that, which, by the way, investing in an IR that's up 18,000% on the 1 month, not a good investment. But when it's $5 and the worst it can go down is like $2 or $3, that's when it's a good investment. And that's a lot of the type of advice I built this YouTube channel on. And so basically what I'm going to do is I am going to tell you how I went from 2 years ago being someone who only cared about selling Pokemon cards on eBay and grading and flipping for a profit. How I went from that 2 years ago to basically Scarlet and Violet era, Crown Zenith, and this all ties to illustration rares, how illustration rares completely changed my life. Yeah, no, seriously, I'm serious. Crown Zenith and illustration rares and this beautiful, chaotic, no one cares, now everyone cares era. Literally rewrote all my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year goals, and everything's different now. So I'm just going to basically tell you how I went from a money guy, investor, bro, sell, make a bunch of money, to somebody who owns every single Scarlet and Violet era illustration rare there is, and a lot more than just one. And I don't make a lot of money, so anyone could be in my situation right now, as long as you're like me and spend all your disposable income on IRs over the last 2 years. So basically, here we go. That's the video. Is me. I'm just going to talk about how I went from point A 2 years ago to where I am today. All right, let's get to it. Am I really about to do this whole video looking like Shiny Bert? No, I won't, but I will change into a blue shirt. The camera was pissing me off, so some of the color of the shirt, I don't know. Okay, so basically, the rest of this video, I'm not going to do any editing. I'm going to sum it up in under 10 minutes. And like I said, we're going to go from point A to point B. How I was, first of all, I was a Kanto kid. In 1999, all my best childhood memories are connected to Pokemon. I can close my eyes and I can envision standing outside of the South Hill Mall in Puyallup, Washington, in the mall, but right outside of Wizards of the Coast, in between Wizards of the Coast and the food court, specifically Sbarro Pizza. I remember Sbarro Pizza was right there. Wizards of the Coast was right there. The people I were with right here. Charizard first edition right there. Best childhood memory. And so even though I came back into the hobby in 2018, it's not like it was all about money. I had the nostalgia, I had all that, and I had the history of 1999 and pulling Charizard is my best memory. So it wasn't like I was purely all about money, making money. A lot of it had to do with TCA Gaming. Rusty is someone I've known for a long time, or I've watched for a long time. Him and I are very good friends now, which, by the way, that's just another amazing thing that's happened to me over the last 2 years, is I've got to meet a bunch of really cool people. But, okay, so how do you go from grading, sending submissions to PSA every 2 weeks, immediately selling everything, and in 1 year going from zero, I went from 0,000 to 1.2 thousand sales, something like 20,000 in revenue, blah blah blah. How do I go from that to all of a sudden in 2024, all of a sudden all I care about, even before 2024, but how do I go from being a seller all about money to all I care about these days is master setting Scarlet and Violet era, and all I care about these days is just accumulating all these cheap, low risk, high reward illustration rares? How did that happen? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you. And it all starts with Crown Zenith, and then it segues into illustration rares. So here we go. Crown Zenith came out, and it was the most beautiful set I had ever seen in my life. It started with V-Star Universe. I was doing a lot of grading of V-Star Universe cards. There's a large amount of V-Star Universe cards and Charizard UPCs that I literally built my eBay store off selling. Basically, I graded and sold a ton of Crown Zenith, a ton of V-Star Universe, and a ton of Charizard UPCs, and sold what felt like a million, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 cards. And it eventually added up to $20,000 in sales, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Okay, and in fact, the only reason I even started YouTubing is because I made a how to crack a Pokemon card out of a PSA slab, and it was too long for TikTok and Instagram at the time, so I literally created a YouTube channel just so I had somewhere to put the video, and that's how I became a YouTuber. Well, started, literally. Okay, but basically it goes like this. I started to regret the cards I was selling. I started to love the cards I was selling so much, and I'll tell you right now, my biggest regret ever is, even though I sold multiple sequential PSA 10 Charizard UPCs, there was one set specifically that for an entire year was the #1 highest recorded selling of sequential Charizard UPCs on eBay. By me, by this guy. And it was a sequential set of Zards that ended in 48, 49, 50, that serial number. Now, I know for a fact I'll get sequential PSA 10 Zards in the future. That's not the problem. But to get them to end on a cool serial number, I will never get that back. That'll never happen again. 48, 49. When you grade a lot of cards, you start to care about weird shit, like serial numbers. Like I have a Celebrations Venusaur, literally right there, yeah, right there, that ends in my birth year. So I'm never going to sell that card just because it ends in my birth year. So it's stuff like that you start to care about weird stuff, right? Okay, well, there we go. So big time into selling, grading, and flipping, all that kind of stuff. But again, then I started to regret things, and I started to fall in love with things. Crown Zenith was so... It was like you took the Altarts of the Sword and Shield and you made an entire set out of them. Literally. Crown Zenith is like, look at Evolving Skies, or look at any of the, the Sword and Shield, the later half, blah, blah, blah. Those are all on, art is subjective. When you have that many absolute banger artworks in one set, basically I went from, all right, I like this card, I like that card, but I'm going to sell almost all the cards, to I like almost all the cards and I'm going to sell hardly any of them. What I'm trying to tell you is I fell in love with artwork. I fell in love with collecting, and I had a feeling around the time Crown Zenith that Scarlet and Violet, you don't just make a set like Crown Zenith and then go back to like shitty artwork immediately after that. From my opinion, the final 4 sets of the Sword and Shield era, which are the trainer gallery sets, 30 trainer galleries in each set, totaling 120 trainer galleries, that segueing into Crown Zenith, like the cherry on the cupcake, the end of the Sword and Shield era, the end of Yellow Borders. Between the trainer galleries and Crown Zenith, I had a feeling the Scarlet and Violet era was going to be insane. Like, absolutely insane. You don't finish with artwork that good and then just completely, take your foot off the gas and go right back to boring stuff, and the only cards that are good are the super hard to pull cards. You just don't. And so Scarlet and Violet base comes around. Paldea is when I really started reevaluating things, because once I saw there were 36 illustration rares times 1 and 13 packs, I did the basic math because I went to elementary school, and I started to realize things like Magikarp are actually going to be very hard to pull. I don't know if they're going to be valuable, but I do know, just based on basic math skills, that, you know, if the Pokemon Company makes more sets like Paldea, where you have 36 options in that specific rarity tier, it doesn't matter if it's 1 in 13. You know what I mean? So I started thinking about this, you know, the Danny Phantom school of thinking about rarity tier, hits per rarity tier, how difficult is it to pull a specific card rather than the specific type of card. All that stuff you see Danny Phantom cover a lot. That is the kind of stuff that I was really thinking about back then. And before you know it, things like Dondozo IR, you know, being $3 from base set, or the 3/4 of the Paldea Evolved illustration rares that were under $6 when Paldea came out. They're all almost $20 now. They were all like $5 a year and a half ago. You know, I started seeing this, and God, I don't even know. Every part of my body, every day that I had a few hours, I just wanted to go out and buy these IRs. And then it was like, I don't even necessarily want to send these out to grade yet. I want to, because grading costs money. I would rather take that money and just keep accumulating and keep accumulating and keep accumulating. You know, and then Obsidian Flames comes out, and you're talking the cheapest IRs imaginable. Gloom and Ninetales were like $3 and $5 for a long time. So yeah, I own a lot of Glooms, okay? Look at the Gloom IR. Tell me that's a $3 card. Because we all know it's not now, but that's how I was thinking, you know, back then. And then, you know, it got to a point where I had so many IRs, and plus I was just so obsessed with this era, and this was around Paradox Rift time, and Paradox Rift 35 IRs, so I was like, here we go again, we got another Paldea Evolve. We have another opportunity for another set of 30 plus IRs to be exceptionally difficult to pull. So once Paradox Rift happened, I spent a few $100s ripping open packs, doing stuff with Paradox Rift. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to start master setting. So from Paradox Rift, when Paradox Rift happened, I went back to Paradox Rift, Scarlet and Violet. I completely master setted everything I needed from 151 at a card show via trading in a ton of slabs for store credit at a card show that weren't selling on my eBay store. So I had the funnest 10 minutes of my life just picking every Scarlet and Violet 151 card that I needed to finish my master set, literally off slabs that weren't selling on my eBay store. And yeah, so I went back to Obsidian Flames, Paldea, Scarlet and Violet base set, and the way I went about it, I have always valued condition over the card itself. I knew I loved IRs, period. And I knew the most important factor of IRs would be condition, period. Not so much the Pokemon. The name written on the illustration rare is going to matter so much less than the condition of the card itself. So, all the IRs that I own, I have done my best. I am not someone who buys out tons of copies on TCG Player. Full disclaimer, and a lot of you are going to be happy to hear this. I have never in my life purchased a Pokemon card off TCG Player. Why? Because one, I'm just an eBay guy and I always have been. But two, I would way rather work a little harder to buy copies of cards that actually have a shot at a 10 rather than buy 50 of them and find 2 and then 48 that don't. You know what I mean? So I know it's a strategy to buy a lot of cards off TCG Player and it helps the price go up, yada yada, blah 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 blah. But I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and there are so many damn card shops that I have no excuse whatsoever to not get in my car and just go do it myself with my own eyes. So basically, it started with Crown Zenith. I became obsessed with Pokemon artwork, modern Pokemon card artwork, okay? And then around Paradox Rift, I started seeing things materializing that have materialized in the last month or two, but I had a feeling they were going to materialize a year ago, okay? So I went back, and just over the last year and a half, I did not do all of Paldea, all of, in order. I only master setted all my master sets based on this very important thing, the opportunities that presented themselves in front of my face. If it was a card that looked flawless and beautiful, I would buy it, and it would be for the master set. I did not force myself to buy any raw cards just because I needed them for the master set. I waited until I found a beautiful, very well centered copy in very near mint condition at a great price. And I did all of that over the last year and a half. Okay. So, basically, long story short, to sum it up, I followed my heart and just collected what I liked. I had a feeling eventually, I had a feeling everything I was doing, I was just 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months ahead. Because if I feel this strongly and am this passionate about certain artwork, certain cards, certain sets like Paldea or Scarlet Violet base set, I know I'm not that weird. I like stuff that other people like. I'm a mainstream, basic-ass Chad. If I like this stuff as much as I do, it's only a matter of time before other people are going to really like this stuff as much as I do too. And so all throughout my videos, hottest cards of the week, every set, I just always have said, I call them $4 IRs. They're $2 IRs, $3, $4, $5, all the cheap IRs that just get overlooked. Those are the ones I would always go for. I'd make sure I got all of them, and if I found a really good, kind of expensive one, I'd take advantage of the opportunity. But just in case, I was always buying $3, $4, $5 IRs. Even if I had 5 of them, I'd go into a card shop, and there's a 6th one, and it just so happens to be no scratches, perfectly centered. I'm going to buy it because that's an opportunity, all right? There's a lot of people who would buy that IR, 20, 30 copies of it off TCG Player, just out of the chance that one of those copies would look as good as that copy that I just bought. So yeah, basically I put a pause on grading, I put a pause on selling so that I could appreciate the Scarlet and Violet era and take advantage of these super, super cheap prices while they're still super cheap. And, yeah, now I look like a genius or whatever, sure. But it was literally just me just kind of following my heart and collecting what I loved and what I believed in. And most importantly, what I believed would be a safe investment. An investment where, worst case scenario, I'm not going to lose a ton of value off any of these IRs because I made sure to get them when they were cheap. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say. That's all. I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want to do a super long video. I'm just saying, like, good artwork, good artists. Don't always just follow what everyone else is talking about, what everyone else is doing. You can, over time, make some pretty amazing moves if you just use logical, sensible, reasonable reasons. And my reasons were this $5 IR, worst case scenario, I think it might go down to $4. Best case scenario, I think it could go up to $40. Now, a lot of these are even worth more than that, of course. And now we're in lunacy land. We're in crazy land where everything I could have predicted, we are so beyond that to where I actually wish things would severely cool off. I don't need every card that I own going up in value 10x. 2x is just fine. But yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to release a video where I will go over, I will literally do some B-roll over here, and I'll show you guys a ton of my IRs. I'll show you guys how I keep them. Yeah, I'll make an IR video tomorrow, like showing my actual collection to kind of back up a lot of the stuff that I've been saying. But yeah, the proof is out there. If you think I'm bullshitting you, just go to my YouTube channel and scroll down, okay? Because everything is, public. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys are doing, I hope you guys are surviving. I feel like we're all in survival mode, where we're just waiting for things to get better. And we're waiting for all the people who don't actually give a shit about this hobby to get the hell out of here. We're waiting for the bot scalpers to go away. We're waiting for the vending machine pirates to quit lining up 2 hours before the lady gets there. It's a rough time. But yeah, I'm always going to be here with Hottest Cards of the Week every Friday. And I'm going to do my best to give you guys an unbiased, legitimate take on everything, whether it's buyout related, whether it's authentic, whatever. I do the best that I can to talk about Pokemon cards without pumping them, which it's kind of hard to do in my position, just because I'm not shy about what cards I love, just like I have not been shy about Drowsy. I've not been shy about Baxcalibur, same artist. But yeah, so I'm not even going to bring up what my new favorite IR is because Anyway, hope you guys have a good night. I will see you guys tomorrow on the illustration rare video, and then I will see you on Friday night, hottest cards of the week. Deuces.